Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. It's Monday, Mafia Monday. Let's jump into our story. We're going to pick up where we left off. Took a week off. We're back at it. Hopefully, this microphone is working. I got a new wireless microphone. I'm still learning how to hook it up. Technology is kind of beyond me. I'm still living in the past. So let's just jump into it. I got Mr. Snubby loaded as usual, ready to rock and roll. I got the Hollow Point Plus P 38 Special. So set your mood right. Let's get into some mafia stories. We're doing chapter 9, Calzones with Frank. Now, I have no idea where this story is going at this point. I didn't read ahead. I probably should have. I wrote this book 5 years ago, and I don't really remember much of it because I've written 3 other books since this. So to me, this is kind of new, like it is to you guys. And let's get into it. Let's see what happens. Chapter 9, Calzones with Frank. Uncle Frank came by my apartment in Beverly Hills around 7 p.m. to get me. I hopped in his Cadillac, a pink limo, that he was customizing for Elton John. Before we drove off, he had to give me the grand tour of the completely customized vehicle. Frank genuinely loved cars, and it really showed when he was talking about them. He didn't miss a single detail, showing me all the bells and whistles they added to it. Finally, when we made our way around the behemoth and Frank had nothing more to say, he waited awkwardly for my approval, standing opposite me with this innocent look in his eyes like a puppy dog waiting for a tasty treat. The car looked silly to me, but I said to him, "I'm sure Elton John will love it." With me saying exactly what my uncle wanted to hear, he happily jumped in the car and we drove off to his pizza parlor over on Melrose Avenue. The car had a record player in it, and we listened to Elton John's music as we cruised the west side. When we got down to the pizza parlor, we had one of the guys in the crew switch cars with us and take the Pink Panther, as it was called, back down to my Uncle Frank's dealership in Culver City. The pizza parlor was full of customers. Big Tom, a high school friend of my Uncle Frank, was on the cash register smoking a cigar the size of a telephone pole, as he usually liked to puff on. The waitress was this new girl who wore the smallest pair of shorts that you ever seen in your life. We sat in the back of his restaurant, eating calzones. They were delicious. As we knocked back a few beers, my uncle finally mentioned my father. Frank said, "So, how was your meeting with your old man yesterday?" I wiped the sauce from my mouth and took a sip of my beer. I replied, "My father was on cloud 9. I'm not used to seeing him like that. He took me to the gun club, and he had this fully automatic M60 machine gun. The thing was fucking insane, Frank." Frank said, "Yeah, I heard about that shipment. We will be getting one also. All the crews will be arming themselves to the gills to get ready for the war with the enemy. We're going to take down the Chinese once and for all. Simon, we have a really big hit coming up. It's going to be a big one for you." I tried to look surprised and said, "Oh, really?" Frank looked at me with suspicion and replied, "Did your father tell you about it already? Listen up. I don't know what he told you, but this ain't going to be no regular hit, Simon. This is a company job, a syndicate hit. Those hits can be difficult." I put down my drink and stopped eating for a minute and said, "Yes, my father told me about it, but he didn't give me any details." Frank continued, "I'll fill you in. The man is named Jin Chang, and he is an old triad boss from Hong Kong who moved here to run the Los Angeles operations. He's hard to get to and has a large security detail around him at all times. Honestly, it would be easier to hit the president." I asked, "Well, do we have any intelligence on him? Make this easier a little bit?" Frank said, "None. We don't know anything other than his name. You'll have to find out where he lives and where he hangs out. You'll have to do this all on your own. You'll have to come up with a plan by yourself and execute it flawlessly. And if you miss, you're done in this game. If the triad doesn't get you, the syndicate will." The board of directors is not the family. We simply hold a seat on the board. You cannot trust the syndicate. I started eating again and replied with a full mouth of food. Okay, Frank, I get it. It's a hard hit. What's the pay? Frank said, Simon, you don't have to do this job. This is not a family hit. You can refuse. The board will just find someone else. They'll put you on the shelf for future work and you'll be out of the loop. Stay out of their business, kid. Just think about it. That's all I'm saying. Stay out of their business. I took a swig off my beer and then replied, why would I refuse? My father told me it would probably pay big money. You know I need money, right, Frank? Frank leaned in close, putting his fat sausage-sized finger on my shoulder, and then he said, the board of directors is bad news, Simon. My advice is just to stick with the family. Keep your head down, and you'll last longer in this game. Trust me on this. I kept chewing my food and washed it down with more beer. I replied, stop stalling me out. How much does it pay, Frank? Frank said angrily, damn it, Simon. You listen to me. I know you want to please your father, but this is not the way to do it. If you want to be a big earner, let me give you some work. We'll build you up slowly. You don't even know anything about business. We'll teach you. I replied, you always told me that if I was going to do something in life, I should take it all the way, as far as I could go. You told me never half-ass anything. But now, you think I should keep my head down and play the background? You think I gave up making millions in the NFL just to end up some idiot West Side thug hanging out in pizza parlors my whole life? I got big plans, Frank. Frank shook his head in frustration. He sat back and took a long, deep breath. Then he relaxed his whole body and said, my goddamn power-hungry brother just pisses me off. He infects everyone around him like a virus. You know, if he didn't share my last name, I would have had him killed long time ago. I could tell my uncle was done talking to me, so I stood up and said, Frank, I can't live month to month like this no more, especially now that I'm seeing Jennifer. I don't know how much this company job is worth, but I know it's going to be more cash than I've ever seen. Sorry, Frank. I patted him on the back as he looked up at me with disappointment. Frank said, Gino, take Simon back to his apartment, please. I felt like it was a bad time to mention that I was assembling my own downtown mob and was going to leave the West Side crew under my father's orders. I didn't want to mention that I had plans to join the syndicate board of directors someday myself. So I left my remaining of my beer and looked over at Gino for a ride home. Gino was a tiny man, about 5'2". However, his size was not an issue for him. He was well known as a stone cold killer on the West Side. He was a good hand-to-hand combat guy also, and he knew how to box. He was Golden Gloves champ in his 20s, but he wasn't a strong fighter when he got to the pros. He worked for my uncle since I was a little kid, and I'd known him for most of my life. When Gino heard his name called, he came running over and said, yes, boss. Okay, Simon, let's go. Hey, big guy, you got one of those good hippie joints that you smoke? Let's burn one of those on the way down, and you can explain to me in full detail why you think you're too good for us on the West Side. You know, Simon, there ain't nothing wrong with being a West Side thug. That's all I've ever wanted to be my whole damn life. And Frank interrupted and said, that's enough, Gino. Leave the kid alone. He made his choice. I smiled as best as I could, feeling annoyed with Gino and sorry that I made my uncle angry with me. I replied, yeah, I got a joint, Gino. Let's burn it. Hey, Frank, you want to smoke with us? My uncle got up, didn't even look at me. He walked off shaking his head without saying a word. He went into his little office in the back of the restaurant and closed the door behind him. Gino smiled, grabbing my elbow with his tiny hand, and said, "Don't worry, Simon. Frank loves you more than he loves his own children. He's always hated the syndicate and especially the board of directors. I know your Uncle better than you do, and I've known him longer. He's a very passionate and sensitive man. He only wants what's best for you. But between you and me, kid, I'd probably take that hit also. That hit will pay millions or more. Easily, it'll be the biggest hit you've ever done. It'll set you up for life. I'd go for it. Hey, blaze that fatty. Here's a lighter. All right, let's stop here and we'll pick it up next Monday.